I love the original Bulldog brewer. So when I got the new guy, the Master System, I was a little bit dubious. The first brew I did with it, it was kind of like, you know, when you get a new pair of jeans. It was okay, it was a little bit uncomfortable, it wasn't quite what I was used to. So the second brew, I decided to really test it with my recipe that has 40% oats and 5% rye in it. This thing burned through that and it was love from then on. So, a lot's changed, a lot stayed the same. The first thing you may have noticed that's changed is the sheer size of this thing. It comes in at a massive 13 kilograms. It's double jacketed, so it is the same capacity inside the vessel, but it's double jacketed to give you that extra kind of thermal assurance, I guess. One brew I did, I preheated my mash water the night before, left it overnight, and when I came back, it just really gave me a massive head start. It only lost like 10 degrees, which was great. Okay, so what has stayed the same? Firstly, the grain basket. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. This thing's great. Like I said in the last video, the mesh on the bottom isn't that good, but when you've got, I don't know, half a foot of packing with the grain, it works absolutely great. That's exactly the same as the last one. Same nodules on the side for easy lifting, everything's the same. The second thing that's the same is the good old sparge plate. Probably the least sexy bit of this kit, but an absolute gem. They also, for some reason, still give you a bazooka filter. Now, what is new? I already went over the double jacket, but something that's new that I really like, and this is just my OCD, is that there's now only one power cable. With the previous model, you had the cable for the system that was hardwired in, and you had the cable for the pump, which was also hardwired in. This time, you just have this standard kettle lead. So, I don't know, I guess if you wanted it longer, you just get a longer kettle lead. So that's great. That also means that when it's all packed down and taken apart, it's literally just one unit with no wires or anything. It's so easy to transport. So the tap is generally the same as the last time, as the last model you may know, but this time it comes with this cool, ultra safe disconnect. So the previous model, you had to mess around with Jubilee clips to make sure that your pump stayed on during the brew. This thing is super strong. You know, you just give it a little pull down, it comes straight off. Give it a little pull down again, click it back, it's not going anywhere. That of course leads the tap to the pump, which, man, may I say, if some things on this system are twice as good as the previous version, the pump is at least 10 times better than the previous version. It's just, it's the same kind of thing. It's just a magnetic drive pump, you know, it just whirls around, pushes the wort around, but it's so much more powerful. It makes your brew a hell of a lot easier. Now, in this version, it is hard wired. You can't remove it. Like I said, it's one power cable for the system and the pump. So with this, you can't remove it to clean it or anything. So I'm gonna be honest, that is a little bit of a downside, but man, just the sheer power you get back, it's totally worth it. Coming from the pump, you now have this cool stainless steel pipe. With the previous version, it was just a silicone or plastic pipe. I don't know what exactly the material was, which was great. I mean, to be honest, it was a little bit handier than this, but as my other half will tell you, it often leads to paint in the kitchen with wort if you don't secure it properly. With this, there's absolutely no chance of that. It's absolutely stuck fast to the system, just delivering your wort right to the top there. There is a little bit of assembly required here with this, but that's fine. It's just a screw nut. Now, along the pipe is this shut-off valve for the pump. And the reason they have that on the pipe is that in this model, the pump is split between two outlets. Of course, you want the pump to deliver your wort to the top of the fermenter, of the brewer, sorry, so that it filters through and gets everything nice and clear. But this delivers wort to the bottom of the brewer as well. Now this is what's called an anti-burn loop. So I guess if you were boiling or even mashing, it just kind of agitates the wort at the bottom, which I think is an absolutely great idea. Again, this has the same shutoff valve, so you don't have to use it if you don't want to. But I think it's a real nice add. The lid on this system is made of glass, which is, again, just looks cooler than the previous one. I don't know if there's any real advantage of it, but looks really nice. The handles are much stronger to deal with the heavier load. It has just these little switches at the bottom, like I say. So that's basically everything, except the real reason you want to potentially upgrade to this system, the controller. Now this, it's not wireless, it's not Wi-Fi or anything like that. It's kind of beautiful simplicity. So if I just knock the system on there, you'll be able to see that the buttons aren't solid buttons, so you don't actually have to press anything, you just kind of touch them. It's not a touch screen, I don't know what that's called, to be honest. I guess maybe a soft key type thing. But it's so super easy. And the real selling point of this is that you can do multi-step mashing. So with the previous system, you could time your addition. You know, you could set it so that it stopped heating at 60 minutes or 50 minutes or whatever you wanted, but you couldn't then move on to a different thing. With the new Bulldog controller, you can program up to 9 steps. So if you wanted to do a protein rest, for example, if you wanted to do a beta amylase rest, all that can be achieved with this new controller. It's pretty great. If I'm honest, it's really good. And it can be stored on the side, like I say, I'm a bit of an OCD guy, you know, having things nice and neat. So you can store it on the side, or if you want to keep it away from your brew, just put it over here. It's absolutely fine like that. So that's enough said. I've got all my water in. I guess let's heat this thing. We're just coming up on temp, so it's almost time to dough in. So what I've done here, so Bulldog, as well as making these great brewing systems, I also make a really nice sparge water heater, which unlike other sparge heaters, it has this really nice, good quality tap on it as well. Unfortunately, I don't have one of those. If you can, I would just get one. Every time I brew, I regret not having one. But instead, what I have done is I've heated slightly more water than I need to here, so that it's kind of pre-prepared, so that when I do sparge afterwards, it's already preheated. So in order to run that off, what I'm just going to do is turn off the tap and the pump. I'm going to get my pan. Just a bit of water there. Right. And this is now coming through the pump via the loop at the bottom. Just wait for it. Job's a good one. Right, so like I say, I'm at temp, I'm about to mash in. So what I've done is I've closed all the pump channels, the pump is off, just whilst I remove my tube. and my lid. For your information, I'm making it's almost March, I'm making a Märzen or a Fest beer. This is one of the least appreciated beers in the world, I think. I absolutely love this kind of beer. It's my malt. This is, if you've never had one before, you've definitely had a beer that was inspired by it, because they've inspired absolute generations of brewers and beers. So for this style of beer, this is where all my flavor comes from. So let's get it in there and see it, watch it work its magic. Right, so the brewer does help you make great beer, but it doesn't stop you from making an absolute mess of your brew area. I'm just going to put my sparge plate in now, but before I do, a bit of a pro tip for you. So what I've found in the past is if you've got a gummy grist or particularly if your mill is too fine, sometimes things can get a little bit clogged up. So what I do here is I take a glass like this and just run off a couple of litres of wort into the glass and replace it at the top. That way, any particulate that's got through, any bits of husk that are making their way through to the tap will be replaced back onto the top of the brew rather than at the bottom. Now I can almost hear the comments, Jim, why didn't you use your bazooka? That would have stopped it. I just don't like them. I just don't like them. Okay, I'd rather do this. There we go. Now, sparge plate in, pump on. Tube in. We're good to go. Now, same as last time, pro tip, get yourself a massive wooden spoon. That way, if you need to stir the mash, you can just get right in there and stir it. Second pro tip, what I'm gonna say is, I am doing a single step infusion with this. So this is just at 67 now and will be for the remainder. However, what I did was initially, I set the temperature to 70 as my first step, and then 67 was my second step. That allowed me to just drop the wattage down and just save a bit of power, right? So that's in there. I've programmed my infusion temperature. I've also programmed my mash out temperature. So this is just gonna do the whole mash for me, filtering as it goes. What else do I need? Okay, so I'm back from my tea break basically. I've just turned my pump off. Now I'm about to turn my heat off as well. So what happened was I dove in, did my little liquid transfer just to aid the filtration, and I walked away. This kept the heat nice and constant at 67, which is what I like to mash at. Like I said last time, the job that this grain does at filtering it, you know, once you get that nice bed of grain, it's just amazing. Like, this stuff is super clear now. It's a really nice amber color. But the best thing about this is that it mashed out for me as well. Now, I know that mashing out isn't something that you're gonna forget to do or whatever. You know, if you're brewing, you're generally switched on, but like having just one less thing to worry about, it's just really nice. It's just really nice and smooth. It's really good. So I've closed my tap. What I did when I turned the pump off was I left this little valve open. Just that way, what happens is any liquid that's left in this tube, if you leave the valve open, can travel downwards back into the pump, back into the system through this loop here. If you close it, then there's going to be liquid here, and what it's hot, it's sticky now. What can happen when you move this tube away is that all the liquid can just fall over your hands and burn you, just make a mess. It's not good. So now I'm going to close it because I'm about to lauter. I'm going to lauter. So all I need to do is take my little tube off, remove my lid. A handy sparge plate is in place. Now, I've put the handle on. This whole basket handle sparge plate thing, it's the same as it was in the previous version. So if you've seen my other video, that's all the same. Like I say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It works amazingly well. One thing they have changed though, that will affect this step, or might affect this step, is they've changed the lauter ring. So like I said earlier, the basket has these little feet on it that you can lift it up halfway and rest it, and then lift it up the rest of the way and rest it on top. They're still there, and the ring is still there that it sits on, but they've made a slight modification. So in the previous system, the ring was really stuck in. On this system, it isn't. It kind of just rests there. Now, as I said, that's not a big change. It does make cleaning much easier, like I say. But the first time I used this, what I actually did was I knocked the ring into the beer. So just be mindful of that. I mean, if you keep an eye on it, you're going to be fine. I would also suggest using it below you or standing above it as you remove the basket. That way, you're going to get a better angle to pull it out. I guess you'd be stronger up there, and you can just see what's going on, so you can stop that as it happens. So I'm just going to move this little arm out of the way. Like I said, this is steel now, so it's not the old tube that could fly around like before. So far this is quite nice. It does have this padding on it, so try to use that if it's got liquid in it, because it's going to be hot. Okay, let's do this. So there it is, your lautering. Now, like I said earlier, I don't have a sparge water heater, a dedicated sparge water heater. You can get them, and I will get one. But what I do have is this pan of water here. This is another reason why you want to get tall when you do this. You don't want to be lifting big heavy pans of water massively overhead. Normally, with sparging, the advice is go slow. And I still think that is the case here. But because of the sparge plate, because the sparge plate's there, that prevents channeling. So basically, you can throw a little bit more water on a little bit more quickly, just because you're not just going to be dumping it all in one place and only rinsing one part of the grist. So I'm going to sparge now. If you're so inclined, you can start the boil right now. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to sparge first. Okay, all done. Like I say, that's going to be so much easier if you use it on the floor. I've got this set up for TV, but use it on the floor. You're gonna be grateful. Okay, so all that's left to do now is to set up my boil. I only have 2 hop additions in this because it's a German ale. It's not very hop forward. It is bittered, but it doesn't have much flavour. So I'm basically just going to set one boil for an hour. But like I say, if you do want to do your hop timings on this and set intervals, it will let you know when it's time for that next addition. Okay, so here we go. We're all sparged, we're all lautered. Now it's time for the boil. We are currently boiling. It took about 10 minutes to get up from mash out to boil, which is quite good, I think. It's all in there. I'm just going to add this rather substantial bitter and hop addition, and I'll see you at the end. Right, we've got 10 minutes of the boil to go now. I'm just gonna add my final tiny hop addition. It's some Irish moss. Big fan of Irish moss, and it's gonna fashion a little bit, but I like it. So the other thing I'm gonna add at this point is my chiller that comes with the kit. So it's basically the same chiller as you got with the last Bulldog. Immersion chiller, a couple of coals in there. It's pretty good. It gets you wet from boiling to pitching temp in about half an hour. So, I mean, you really can't complain with that. There is one thing they've changed about it though, and they've put these garden hose pipe connectors on it. I mean, I don't know if that makes it better or worse. I imagine it might make it a little bit easier to get the tubes on and off, because with the last one it was just like a blunt face, so that was quite hard to get the tubes on and off. So like I said, I'm just going to put that in there to sterilize. That's what I like to do. Now, you do not need to worry about sterilizing the inside of an immersion chiller unless you're putting beer through it, so sterilizing the outside like that's going to be fine. So this is basically it. The brew's over. It's about 2 hours, two and a bit hours since I started, which is pretty good. Plus the heating up time. There are some really good changes that have been made. This is definitely a premium version. You know, whether it's the controller, the steel pipe, this anti-burn loop, which I've been using the whole time through the boil. It's been letting me make sure my wort is boiling nice and happily without getting oxygen in it, which is what would happen if I was dropping it in from the top. The pump is amazing. So there are some really, really good changes that they've made here to the previous version. There are some things I'm still getting used to be honest. But overall, I would say it's a good upgrade. If you are considering an all-in-one system, Bulldog should definitely be on your list. Now, you know, I've said it before, I love the original version. So if that's all you have the budget for, go with that. If you do have a little bit more and you want to invest a little bit more, then put this on your list. At least look into it, because it is a really, really nice piece of kit.